Have you ever had the experience of saying, this is not a bad place to visit, but I'm not sure I'd want to live there? So let's try this. Have you ever been on vacation somewhere and you loved it? And you were fortunate enough that it was a long enough vacation that for a minute that you thought while you were on the trip, I could live here. And then as the trip went on, you started to feel like, maybe not. And you left it as a nice place to visit, but not sure I'd want to live here. You know where I am going with this, right? Because this sentiment sort of captures the narcissistic relationship. A nice place to visit, but not sure you want to live there. It's the core of love bombing. I mean, love bombing's lovely, right? You are with someone who is more into you, more engaged, more attuned, or so it feels, than anyone you have ever been with, whatever more means to you. More interesting, more interested, more exciting, more engaged, more attractive, more fun. And in intimate relationships, it can feel like you can't believe you found this person, this experience, and you just want it to last. Let's say it's not even an intimate relationship, it's a friendship. And in a new friendship, you may feel thrilled that just when you thought meeting new friends was never going to happen for you, that you found this person that's great to spend time with in a job or a professional relationship. You might believe that you found someone that you're vibing with and you're going to make this exciting new thing take off and happen, right? It's exciting, these love bomb situations. And you feel like that until you don't. And then the whole descent begins that if you've been through it, you get it. But this concept of a great place to visit, but not sure you'd want to live there, it can help you understand one of the most core and confusing aspects of the narcissistic relationship, namely, that other people don't get it. And not everybody who doesn't get it is necessarily an enabler or a problem. Enablers are people who sort of kind of actively push back. They may gaslight you, they may doubt you, they make excuses for the narcissistic person, and they're hurtful in their way, kind of contributing and maintaining your confusion, because often those enablers are not narcissistic. So you're thinking, well, they like them, what's wrong with me? But then there are the people who just don't get it. They aren't telling you that you're crazy or that you're selfish, nor are they making excuses for the narcissistic person, but they're just sort of like visitors. They're people who only see the narcissistic person from time to time for little thin swaths of time. For example, people who live out of town and may only visit you from time to time, or a colleague from another office who comes into your office or your work site a few times a year, or a friend who has moved away and does not interact with your friend group regularly anymore, or a person who knows your narcissistic partner in a more limited way. For example, they work with them or know them from some other more fleeting community sort of relationship. These visitors don't have to live in the relationship. So it kind of feels like vacation for them. And this is the challenge with narcissistic people. If you just get tiny sips of them, they can actually be kind of fun or interesting to talk to or compelling. Listen, I work a fair amount of time in two separate spaces, in media and with academics. Both of those spaces are very full of narcissistic people. And I know some really narcissistic people in these spaces. And some of them, though, I just don't see them that much. So when I'm with them, they actually can be interesting. They're sort of a proverbial nice place to visit. But to live there, damn and hell no, never. I can see that even after an hour or two talking to them, the blush is off the rose. And the entertaining conversation with them sort of starts to feel icky and exhausting. I see these people only periodically, so it's fun until it's not, and then I get up and I leave. I visit, and then I get the hell out of there, and I'm grateful that I don't need to live there. Now imagine applying this sort of thinking to your life, because it could mean that maybe if there's narcissistic people in your life that you can't fully get away from, but you don't have to live with all the time, that you could sort of visit them, but you don't attempt to make it more. You don't attempt to live there with them. And I know, again, this does not apply to all of you, especially those of you in narcissistic marriages where you live under the same roof, or you're still having to live with family members for financial reasons. But a lot of narcissistic relationships that we have in our lives are not those that we have to interact with all the time. And forget the whole narcissism thing. Few of us have the luxury of summarily dismissing everyone in our lives who gets on our nerves. We got to make it work, right? But try to turn it into a visit. I once told a group of folks who were all sort of dating and who were all or looking for relationships, sort of looking for love or trying to make love work or last, that if it's love bombing, that love bombing on average, it lasts somewhere between 6 weeks and a year. And I know that's a big band, but by and large, noticeable red flags in any relationship will start popping up somewhere between 6 weeks and 4 months. Certainly could happen earlier, not likely to happen later. It's the same thing. It's knowing when to pack up and call it done on the vacation. How many red flags are enough for us to see to get the hell out of there? 1, 2, 10, 25? Because really that's the win. Enjoy the love-bombed ride. Have fun. Be aware. Pay attention to the stuff that doesn't feel good or is disrespectful or unkind or gaslighting. Make note of it. Remember the red flag rule. And this is an important one to remember. Red flags are not compensatory. And what do I mean by that? That a nice thing does not erase a red flag. Basically, that even when something nice is done, that doesn't erase the red flag, right? Because that's the mistake. And that's the evolution of the trauma bond. They did something nice. Okay, yeah, they did gaslight me, they did lie to me, but they took me to a really nice dinner, the place I wanted to go, or they remembered something important. No buts, folks, they gaslighted you, or they lied to you. That's a red flag. Then use the word and they took me to dinner. But them taking you to dinner doesn't mean that the red flag is gone. Now, this isn't just a one-sided game. It's not about just counting up the red flags to get to the place where you finally say, okay, we've hit 20, I'm done, like this is not good. But rather, what happens when you communicate about those red flags, when you communicate in the relationship about things that don't feel good? Because if you point out something that doesn't feel good in the relationship and it results in a conversation and empathy and change and growth, well, then that's great. Then they aren't red flags as much as the natural stuff that happens in a relationship and that you talk about and grow from. But as these red flags come up and your attempts to share feelings about them result in even more devaluation, then you have a real problem on your hands. And these red flags are meant to be counted. Because this nice place to visit is telling you something. And that is simply that this nice place to visit may not make a good home. Now, obviously, children don't have the luxury of picking up and leaving. But as adulthood sets in, it may be the wake up to disengage and not try to keep making the family less toxic than it is. Because people do get confused by these relationships and sometimes wonder, well, maybe my mother or father, brother, sister, friend, fill in the blank, isn't narcissistic, because sometimes I do like seeing them, but damn, after a week, after 3 days, I'm done. Maybe that's a me thing because I enjoyed the first day or so. Nah. What it tells you is it's a nice place to visit. You just wouldn't want to live there. So for all of you who say, like, I can handle my family in small doses, 1 or 2 days, but then I really start feeling sick, nice place to visit. You just wouldn't want to live there. And remembering that can become a sort of approach to sort of maintaining in contact with relationships with narcissistic people that you aren't ready to cut out of your life, but you also know that if you spend too much time with, you're going to get sick. Nice place to visit. You just wouldn't want to live there. Thanks again.